I'm going to try to explain how I crocheted my granny square overalls. I'm going to do my best. I kind of just winged it and just went with it, measuring it to my body. So I'll do my best to explain what I did and how I did it. And if you guys have any questions or anything, I'll be able to hopefully answer those for you, or leave me a comment and then I'll address it as we go along. So first I use an eye hook. I used this granny square yarn, so it's all in one. It's just made to change colors without having to switch yarns. This color specifically is Lily Pad. As you see here in my blanket, I used all-in-ones for this one here, for all of these ones. So yeah, it works out really nice. It saves time. You don't have to deal with switching out yarns and stuff. So I wanted to try it. Yeah. So you'll need measuring tape, of course, and some scissors, a yarn needle, and stitch markers. These came in huge for me. Excuse the pause. I don't know. They help me out a lot in trying to figure out what I need to do with this project. This here says it makes, I think I thought it said it on here. It only makes like 14 granny squares. Right here. So one of these makes 14. For me, I got like 15 out of them or something like that. So yeah, that's helpful. I think for my overalls and my size, I used 24 granny squares, I believe. And then the straps. So it will have some extra like yarn left over. So yeah. Let's see. So as you see, you just pull and then the color comes out as it changes. And then you just cut at each color change, or I'll show you how I did mine. I don't know if this is the most ideal, but this is what I did. So quick run through my measurements. I will see if I could put them on the screen, but 36, 34, 48. That's my measurements. So bust is 36, waist is 34, and my hips are 48. So what the issue is that I ran into, the reason why I did these actual triangle parts is when I did full granny squares around, it actually was too big for my waist and I didn't like the way it looked. So that's why I eliminated a granny square for my size. And if you can see, for me, I don't know what I'm doing. Hold on. For me, I went basically 5 around my leg area. So it's 5 granny squares. As y'all can see, I didn't weave in these ends. I didn't have time. So I did 5. So around one of my legs, it was 5 granny squares, including the crotch area. So 2 for the front and part of the side, and then 2 for the back and part of the side. So it came out 1 in the middle where it made the crotch area right here, which actually just worked perfectly. I don't know how, but it did. You can see that. Let me zoom in. That's the crotch area, and it's 1 whole granny square that fit just perfectly there. So I have a feeling this is horrible already. I don't know. All right. So now the way I made the granny square, basically, Put you back in the camera somehow. I don't know. Just work with me, y'all. Okay, so you want to start off with a chain 4. Then you're going to go into the first chain you made with a double crochet, and then one more double crochet. So the chain 3 counts as your first double crochet, and then you're going to chain 2. So you have 3. Same loop, in the same chain, you want to do another 3 double crochet. So basically a granny cluster. And I just double crochet over my excess yarn. And then I'll show you why in a moment. And then you want to chain 2. Again, I'm going to do this 2 more times. Okay, chain 2. And so now that you have 3 groups of 3 double crochets, you're going to do that 1 more time. And it may get a little tight, but you can still get it in there. And then chain 2. And then you want to connect it to the top of that chain 3. If you have to wiggle them over, just wiggle them over. So make sure you go into the top chain and not your first double crochet. It's a little dark, but when we get to the next colors, you'll see. So you don't want to go into this double crochet. This is the first one. You want to go into the top of that chain 3. And I just slip stitch. And I try to go under 2 pieces of yarn. So I have 2 on the top and then 1 on the bottom. And I just slip stitch. For me, I just pull up a loop until I get to almost the next color. And then I go over to the next corner. So it looks a little wonky now, but once it forms, as you can see, it forms really good. So yeah, you're going to double crochet over all that. And here's the first part. I hope you can see well. Okay. So I go over to the next corner where my chain 2 is, and that's where I make I start my next color. So for me, I leave a little bit. I let this yarn hang. I let this just hang and stay there. And then, yeah, I just leave this a little bit and I start my next row. Okay, so now we're going to, so the way I start my next row is I place it in the back, put my hook through my chain 2, wrap my yarn, and I pull through. Creates this little loop. I literally just chain 1, pull it down really snug, and I don't count this as a chain. As you see, this is about how much yarn I leave. I don't count this as a chain. This is just me joining. So then I chain up 6. So chain 6, and then I do 3 double crochets into this chain 2 space. Okay, so now for this first round, I don't do any chains. I just go over to the next round. Next chain 2 space. So I wrap my yarn, chain 3, 3 double crochets, wrap my yarn, 3 double crochets, it gets really tight. Chain 3. And for this one, I chain 3s instead of chaining 2s because you can actually go to their website and it's just, this is how they tell you how to do it. So I don't know. I did these like that. So I just decided to continue doing it like that. I usually chain 2. Okay, wrap your yarn, 3 more double crochets. Okay, do not chain. Go over to your next chain 2 space and 3 double crochets. So basically in each chain 2 space, you want to do 3 double crochets, chain 3, 3 double crochets. Okay, I want to come here, since it is kind of weird like this. What I literally did is I just take the loop and I just crochet over it because I was trying to move really fast. Like this blanket took me like what 45, 48 of these. And then I did these and it was just a lot of granny squares. So I just went with the flow after a while. But this is made to just keep going and not cut. So it depends on how you feel about it. I'll show you what I did and then I can suggest what you can do to go a little faster maybe than what I did. I don't know. So the one that's connected to the back, as you see, I'm pulling it. I pull down a little loop. And then I literally just crochet over it. Like it, to me, I was so over it at the point. And so you want to make sure you go into that chain 2 space and do the same exact thing. So I literally just took it and I held it down and I just did what I needed to do. So it may be easier for you to just cut and go. But yeah, basically. Okay, you chain your 3 and then your next 3 double crochets. And as you get to the end, you will notice that your color change should start to happen. As you can see, there's the green. And that's how you know, like, you're at least kind of like on somewhat of a track. Like your granny square shouldn't be too big or too small. So in this last chain 2 space, I only do 2 double crochets. So in the last chain 2 space, just do 2 double crochets because that initial chain 6 counts as a double crochet and 3 in chain 3. I hope I'm making sense, you guys. So I just count up my 3 and I slip stitch into the 3rd chain. I do a chain 1 and I pull up the loop until I almost reach the next color. So again, it always looks a little weird, but it eventually comes out to be a nice solid granny square. So the initial chain 6 counts as a double crochet and a chain 3. Okay, so I go over to my next corner. So I never start in the same corner. I always go to the next corner. Have my next color change here. So I kind of, make sure it's at like the weird color phase part. There it is. Where it starts to change that color. And I join. I chain my 6. And then I do 3 double crochets in the same space. Now for here, since we are coming to these extra spaces, I chain 1. And then do 3 double crochet. and chain 1. And then when you come to the chain 3 space, you want to do 3 double crochet, chain 3, 3 double crochet. Every corner is a chain 3 space, so you want to do 3 double crochet, chain 3, 3 double crochet, and that creates your corner. After the last set of 3 double crochet, you chain 1, and then you continue to do the same thing. And again, here you can make it easier on yourself. Since we did chain 1 and pull up a loop, since we did chain 1 and pull up a loop, you can just cut it. It doesn't really matter. It's going to get cut now or later. It doesn't really matter. And just pull that loop out while not losing your next double crochets. Okay, and then that actually makes it easier because then you can just double crochet right over that when you do your cluster, your corners. Yeah, that may be the wave. I think that's it. Less hassle when you have to weave in all these ends, to be honest. And if you don't like weaving in ends, I don't know if you would like this because there will be ends to weave in. Even though it says like all in one, you know, it has no color switching with like a skein of yarn, but you definitely have ends to weave in because mine's did not come out. As you see, the color change happened because I'm nearing the end. Here it is. And I'm almost done. Mine's did not come out perfect. Like every color change was not perfectly aligned. So I don't know if I'm doing something wrong or not, but I followed the instructions. So directions, whatever. Okay, so here, once I'm here, do your 2 double crochets, and then you're gonna slip stitch into that 3rd chain. And you want to make sure that it's the 3rd chain. I go behind 2, and then I do my chain. I just leave it connected until the next one. It's not that big of a deal for me. All right, let's move on. As you know, with granny squares, it adds a space every time you go up a row. For those who are new to this and don't know that, basically every row it adds another space. So as you see this row, it added 1 space. Now we have 2 spaces. The next row will have 3 spaces, and so forth, depending on how big you go with your granny square. Okay, so I'm going to finish this granny square now, and then I'll be back once I get to the last color change and the end of the row. So as you see, this is how much it is, and then here's the color change here. See the 2 different colors? So yeah, so just keep going around. Start with your chain 6, and then you do 3 double crochet, chain 1, 3 double crochet, chain 1, 3 double crochet, chain 1, corner. Your corner is 3 double crochet, chain 3, 3 double crochet, and you continue that 3 more times until we meet back at the end. Okay, I'm back at the last row. I will be cutting my yarn. As you see, this one got pretty close to the last color. Just cut that. Make sure you do your chain. Make sure you did your chain 1. And then you just finish your last corner. Well, second to last corner, I should say. Full corner. And do not forget that chain one in between your spaces. This is what makes this granny square so nice and large and intact. I don't know, y'all. I'm just talking. All right, last chain two. I mean, double crochet. Why did I keep on this chain two? Oh well. All right. Slip stitch into that chain three. And as you see, here comes the next color. So this yarn is really convenient when it comes to not having to grab a new skein of yarn just to make the next color. So it's extremely convenient. As you see, it is curled, so you just have to stretch it. Some people block it and all that stuff. It's not that I don't have time. So mine is going to stretch out anyway from what I used it for. So here it is. Nice granny square. Do you want to measure it out? So yeah, comes up to about 5.5 or so. And I just pulled it that way. So unfortunately, kind of messed up. But without pulling it this way, as you see, it comes out to 5.5. Once I pulled and stretched it, it's coming back, you know, same thing, but it stretches. So you pull and tug on it before you measure it. Don't like freak out, because as you see now, it's measuring 6. So that just goes to show you that the yarn is really stretchy, but relatively it's the same. It's going to be 5.5 inches, and that in centimeters is about 14 centimeters. So weaving in the ends, I'll try to make this as quick and painless as possible as I can. So I just, put the yarn through, and I just weave in my ends. Whichever way you weave in your ends, I don't think it's a big deal. As long as you secure your yarn and make sure that it's, won't come undone or slip out or anything like that. You go for what works best for you. I literally just push it in and go for wherever it fits. It's not that big of a deal for me. Most times I make everything for myself, so, but that's what you want to do. You want to weave in all your ends and virtually seamlessly. Yeah. Bam. There you go. So on to the good stuff. So now, assembly. Actually, I will make one more granny square and then show you how I sewed them together. And then my assembly. And then we're done. We're done, people. One moment. Okay, I'm back. And as you see, this is kind of all the leftover yarn. You may have more than this. I have a whole bag, so I don't throw yarn away. I keep it and save it. I don't know. Stuff it into something else. I just go. So here it is with all the ends weaved in. So I left this one because I remember that I told you guys the reason why I crochet over the tail is for this reason. So I can just pull it tight. So as you see, when you first make one, it has like this little gappy hole. You can leave them. Some of my clothes, some of them I didn't, as you see. So we just pull that, and I usually like to weave it in just like around the circle. I do this with all my granny squares. Virtually. So if the string is too short for me, I just ignore it for now and I weave through my circle. Once I get through, I push the needle through and pull up a little yarn, and then I just pull through. Pull tight, and then I cut. So I'm doing a voiceover right now because my microphone died at this part. So if I'm a little off, excuse me, but here we go. So here it is, all weaved in front and back. And this is what it looks like without the weaving in of the ends. But you'll get through it. It's okay. So now I'm just taking one of the ends of the corners and I'm going to sew them together, show you how I sew them together. So I thread my needle. And I like to line them faces together. So if you can't tell, if you weaved in your ends so good that you can't tell what's the front and the back, here it is. So the top one here is the back. You see the back has these little bumps in it. It's like little ridges. That's where your chains are. And it looks bumpy, but the front looks really smooth, if you can see the difference of them. So the top one is the back. That's the back side. And I'm just explaining that throughout the video. And this is the front side, so how smooth it is. Again, one more time, back and front. So I like to line them up front facing, so the back's to the outside. I also don't like the corners where I have my chains to line up. I like them at opposite ends. Eventually you will hit them together anyway, but I just like to start them off at a nice clean corner. So once I rotated it and got it where I wanted, I'm going to sew them together. So I like to start, here I'm showing that's the chain 3 from the 3 granny clusters, from the 3 double crochets you did, and then it starts to chain. So I like to start at the first chain or the third chain, whichever way you look at it, but in the chain 3. And I also like to go under both loops. So I was just explaining there that you want to make sure that you count through all 3 double crochets to get to that first chain. So here, there's the V. I like to go under both of those top loops. So the one that's closest to you, you will always have to kind of tilt to find, to see it better, because it will be backwards to you. And then the one furthest away will be fine because it's facing you. So I go under both loops of both sides. And here we go through the second one. Let's do that first one. I don't pull too tight because it is connected to that chain right there. So I keep it a little loose at this point. I usually weave under. I forgot on this one. Go under that chain, the second chain. And then here I went under as I was supposed to and went under both chains. So the one that's closest to the double crochet is sometimes hard to find, but you'll be able to see where that top V, other side of that V is, and just get under both loops. Once you find it, go through and go through the other side. All right, so you want to pull a little tight, not extremely tight, but tight enough. Not to where like it bunches up, but you want to pull it tight enough to where it's taut. So here we have 3 double crochets, and you just want to go through each of those under in between the loops. Sometimes that one is hard to find, but just make sure you count back, or you can count from your chain 1 up until you find that first chain, is what I was explaining in that part of the video. And there's number 2. And then there's the 3rd double crochet. Here I just pull tight. About every 3 or 4 I pull, so I won't have to go through so many. That's through that chain 1. And I also explained during this part that if you just so happen to forget a chain 1, it's not the end of the world. The only thing you have to do is skip that chain 1 and go into the double crochet for both of them. So if one of them have it and one of them don't, just skip the one that has it, and then go straight into the double crochet. It'll work the same way. And so again, through the chain 1s, through the first double crochet, through the second, and through the 3rd. And after this one, I just like to pull it. And you can always stretch it out just like that a little bit if you pulled it too tight. And I just keep repeating this. So as we are in the last double crocheting, I pull tight before I get to that corner, or chain 3 spaces, and I go through the same ones again, the chain 1, then chain 2, and then chain 3. Here I was saying that on some of them I had stopped at the chain 2, but you'll see what I mean in just a moment when I show that it doesn't give as clean as an edge as when I went through all 3 chains. And so yeah, right here is where I was explaining that. So this is through the chain 2, and so you see how it leaves like a little awkward gap versus here where it's completely straight. I was like, yeah, no, I don't like that. So I decided at this point to go back into that chain 3 and just make it straight like the other side. So now through that chain 3, 1, 2, 3. Make sure you count those double crochets if you lose or don't know exactly where that chain is, because it is twisted sometimes when it comes close to that double crochet. It's tight. And once I pull that tight, you can see how much cleaner that edge looks versus the first time that it when I showed it. I zoom out. And there you go. This is how nice and flush it looked. Came out pretty decent to me. So many ways to join granny squares. You just find whatever works for you. I did a simple whip stitch through both loops, and it's very stretchy, as you see. and that's what I needed it to do. So I think that worked well enough for me, and I was satisfied with it. So now on to the best part, the assembly of how I did this lovely thing that I put together here. So this is gonna get a little, just work with me, So here I did 5 in the first row. I did 5 granny squares around my thigh. Okay, stitch markers came in handy for me so much. It helped me out a lot. I will insert a picture on how I actually put every single one of these together to build it, and then I sewed it together. So in the front part of my thighs were 2 granny squares, which are those 2 there. So it covered like the front of my thigh and some of my hip, and then also the same thing here in the back. It's 2 granny squares, and that also covered part of my, the back side of my thigh and part of my hip. And here in the middle is where that 5th granny square comes in, and it made the crotch area, and it actually just lined up perfectly to fit me during this point. So as you see here, I just joined it in like a circle. And when I did this join, I didn't want so much gaps and spaces, so I just filled in, like you see in the corners how he leaves that space. So I just filled it in, sewing it together to kind of close it up so it won't have a big hole where my underwear and stuff will be at. So I did the same thing down at the bottom where my backside is, and did the exact same thing. So I literally just went through and closed up any gaps that I could. No specific way. I just went in and went around and through and made sure I sewed it all tight together so it won't have such a big hole if I sat down or opened my legs at a point. So it wouldn't look like I was, mooning or something. I don't know. So it's kind of awkward to explain, but it worked out perfectly. I actually have 5 around my thigh. The next row goes up to only having 4. It seems off, and I checked this like several times, and it's crazy. But my next row, which is that second row that I'm touching right here, it's actually only 4. So that's why I didn't know I got off camera on that part. Sorry. That's why I only have 4, or I have that little triangle, excuse me, triangle part right there where my thigh is open, because it was too big when I tried to fit the full 5 like I did at the bottom. It was way too big for my waist, and it wasn't flattering, so I didn't like that. So that's why I just eliminated the 1 and used the ones from the back right there in that whole part, that side. So it's easier. It's hard to explain. I'm so sorry. That sounds crazy. So basically everything lined up except for that one right there above that one. That's the only one that did not line up correctly. And so if I put a granny square there, it would have been too big, if that makes sense. So as you see, everything matches perfectly. So it's 4, it's 2 there, and then the crotch area or the space between the legs. So everything else lined up to match, if that makes sense. So basically 2, 2, 2, and 2. And then you have the middle pieces, which of course was like a half of the front, half of the back. So that's why that one matched. So in that space right there, I took that one and just connected it to the front and eliminated a whole granny square in that second row, if that makes sense. I hope it does. I'm sorry if it doesn't. So again, in this row, you had these two perfect granny squares. They're the same size, and I just lined it up with the top row. So this is really only 2 rows if you really want to think about it. Aside from that top area, it's only 2 rows of granny squares. So I lined those 2 up. I made the bottom one first in that circle, and then the 2 tops lined up. That middle one is where it's like the crotch area. So I just sewed it, laid it flat and sewed it down. And so I did explain this a little better as I was going. I'm kind of upset. I apologize. So yeah, here is where I eliminated that granny square, and I took this one and I lined them up and went in with 3 spaces from the corner. So you see that's like 2 clusters or so, and matched those together and just sewed it and closed it. And that's what made that triangle part. I made sure I sewed those ends right there down, those corners, and so it wouldn't come undone. But that's what created that hole. I didn't do anything extra. I didn't add any more stitches to it. That's just what it was. And then of course the top piece here is just 4 granny squares. And I was explaining that this actually really came out really well as just a pair of shorts. If I would have went up and did just a row of like border line or border row of granny square clusters around, it would have been perfect shorts. So it only took 2 rows for me to get that done, but I wanted overalls, so I added the extra 2 rows. And yeah, everything just lines up down the line, and that's how I did that. Very simple. So what I was explaining here is that midsection part for me was too big. So I didn't like the gap in the back and I didn't like the gap in the front. So I took a piece of yarn, or you can do a chain and just connect that. So here I'm explaining that basically you can go up as high as you want. 4 was enough for me to do the top part of these overalls, and the 2 at the bottom. So 4 rows in total, but 2 rows made the shorts part, the bottom piece. That crotch area, I literally, once you sew all the circle part at your thigh area, once you sew that together, it lines up perfectly to sew the next row to it, if that makes sense. So here's where I was explaining my waist area. It was a bit, it was too big, so I didn't like it being that big. So I literally just took, as you see, it stretched out. So I just took a piece of yarn and tied it because I didn't like, I wanted it to be more fitting than it be baggy in that area. So here I'm going to show, like, you can just take a chain or you can tie some yarn, whichever way you feel comfortable, and just make sure they line up and match, and tie that part closed. So when I wore it, I just, stuffed it into my overalls. You can really see it, but you can leave it hanging out as well. It's really cute. And just like that. That's simple. It's nothing fancy. I just closed it up because I wanted it tight. But I did that after I put it on because it wouldn't fit over my hips if I was to put that on. As you see, it's a whole extra layer on that side. So my hips had to go over it first when I put it on. And then once I got it on, I was able to close that up. And here I was explaining, I think, the straps. So for the straps, I kept it really simple. As you see, you can use buttons. I did not. I just decided to make a chain. I didn't want a simple chain, so I made it a little more fancy. I did like 100 chains, which was way too many. So you just do it tailored towards how long or short you want your straps to be. As you see here, I did beginning chain, double crochet, chain 2, skip 2, two double crochets, chain 2, skip 2, 2 double crochets, and I did that all the way down. I like this way because when I tried to do the granny cluster, it didn't look right. It gave me a weird like curve, and I didn't like that. It was curved too much, so I just decided to do 2 instead of 3. And then here I literally just tied it. As you see here, it's a knot. I thought it was cute. Of course, you can put buttons. In the future, I may put buttons, but I decided to just do it like this. I thought it was simple, and I'm like, hey, it works. So here I will show you. Literally, I wrapped it around the open loop. As you see, I'm pulling it out. You'll see how I wrap it in a moment. I'm taking it down. So I placed it through the granny square corner, put it through the 2 double crochets, and then stuck it through the granny square corner one more time. And then I pulled. And it created this nice little circle, little bump thing. I thought it was cute. I was like, hey, there we go. And that was it. That was pretty much it. Yeah, that's all. I hope this helped. I'm sorry there's not a real pattern to this. I literally just fit it on my body and just went with it. If you do have any questions or want to know anything more, please leave them down in the comment section. I'll be more than happy to answer it and help you through it. It's really kind of tailored to your body, so just go with the flow. Like I say, any questions you may have, I'll be more than happy to answer them as we go along. But as you see, it's just straight lines down. If that wasn't in that triangle position, it'd be the 2 granny squares laid flat. And yeah, front side is made the exact same as the back side. So it's fairly simple and fairly easy. It's just taking the time and the measure, like getting the correct measurements for your body to work. Mine's is 4 down, 2 on the sides. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. I feel kind of bad that I don't have a pattern, but I didn't follow a pattern at all, so I just kind of went with it. Again, if you have any questions, please leave them for me. This is like some of my first tutorials, so I know it's not going to be great, but I am willing to help any way I can. I love constructive criticism and feedback, so please let me know what I could have done or what I could do to do better and or to help you. Don't hesitate, message me, leave me a comment, whatever it may be. I'll get back to you. I made this for you guys for to hopefully see it can help. I wish I can be a little more in detail. Maybe in the future I can try to come up with a real explanation on how I did this once I get my words together. And yeah, so here you go. This is it. It came out cute, and yeah, I hope I helped in some sort of way. Thanks, guys, and until next time.